Judd, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Good morning.
What did the Mets mean to you growing up?
Well, that was the only sport that I followed other than tennis. I was into Borg. I liked my Borg. I didn't like when McEnroe suddenly came up and started beating up on Borg. But I used to go to the Mets games. I was born in '67. My dad took me to the playoffs in, was it 72 or 73? And then they were just terrible for, about 8 years. They just had a really bad run. And I loved it. I loved going to Shea Stadium when there was 5,000 people in a 50,000-seat stadium. I loved liking a team that was losing. And then, Darryl and Dwight Gooden came to the Mets in the early 80s, and they started getting good, and it couldn't have been more exciting.
But your sensibilities of looking for humor or scripts that have humor in it, I know that diminishes you. You're somebody who knows a good story and telling a good story. But is that what you were looking at when you did this documentary? That hey, this isn't Knocked Up or Bridesmaid or Anchorman. This is something different.
Yeah, I didn't really think it through, to be honest with you. I met my co-director, Michael Bonfiglio, when I did this show, Iconoclasts, and it was about me and Lena Dunham. And I thought, wow, this guy's really talented. It'd be fun to try to do a documentary with him. And then one day I was just tweeting to 30 for 30, hey, great show last night. And someone tweeted back, hey, you want to do one? And without even thinking, I said, yeah, it'd be great to do one about Dwight Gooden and Darryl Strawberry. That would be a great story. I'd love to know more about that, having not thought about it at all. And then they just put it together really quickly. I didn't even know the story well when I mentioned it. I just had read some of Dwight Gooden's book and had seen a lot of his appearance talking about it, and it seemed fascinating.
Toughest moments in doing the documentary?
What's that?
What were the toughest moments?
Well, I didn't do the interviews because I'm such a fan. I don't think I would have had the courage to really go there. And my partner's such a genius. What was difficult about conceiving it and putting it together was just figuring out where to spend your time. There were so many incidents in their lives. You could have done an entire documentary on their childhoods before they got to the Mets. You could have done a documentary about any of the times that they crashed. So just trying to figure out how to space it out and which ones to put in and which ones to leave out was difficult. And because they're all very serious. I mean, there's, intense moments where they make terrible mistakes, and they do all require some time.
Did you learn more about Gooden or Strawberry?
Well, I think that Strawberry is a little bit more forthcoming. He's very into the rehab world. He runs 2 rehabs. His whole life is about sobriety and helping people get sober. So I think he's in a much more open place, which is just all about sharing your experiences.
Is it strange, or how strange was it to come out of something like this where you're watching it and it's not uplifting? You don't leave with a smile on your face like people normally would when they're watching your movies.
It's very weird. We did a premiere in New York, and it was funny to have something with only a few laughs. It's very serious. It's about addiction. It's about, how addiction really destroys people's lives. And then when it ends, people are like, that was really good. But usually when I show a movie, everyone's laughing and giggling and, oh, my God, that happens to me all the time. And this was a very different type of conversation after. But I think an important one, and I enjoyed, creating something with Michael that, made people talk about, what it's like to be young and be under this kind of pressure. What's it like to be in New York in the 80s when you could have everything? And there's no TMZ. There's no one paying attention. And how much trouble you can get yourself into. And then what it takes to try to survive and to get yourself sober.
But I also wonder, Judd, if we had social media back in the 80s, would that have been a better thing for Gooden and Strawberry, that maybe we would have seen it earlier? Because, with Doc and covering that Mets team, I didn't know that, he was, abusing, cocaine or strawberry. We had an idea, but I had no idea what was going on there. And maybe social media would have brought that to the forefront a little bit earlier.
Oh, absolutely. I remember years ago, Chris Rock said to me, could you imagine if they had all this when Frank Sinatra was around? Whatever Jerry Lewis was doing and Dean
Richard
Martin.
Pryor.
I mean, it really was a different era. And they say it in the documentary. They say, I think Daryl said it, you would go out and do whatever you wanted to do, and no one would ever find out.
That's true.
Until you completely crashed. But it also felt like there wasn't much supervision, that the world of baseball and the Mets, they weren't saying, hey, guys, you got to stop or you're in big trouble. There seemed to be an environment in that era that allowed that in a way that I don't think would be tolerated for a second today.
He's Judd Apatow, co-directed ESPN's latest 30 for 30 documentary, Doc and Daryl, that airs tonight at 9 Eastern on the Mothership. When did you know that LeBron James could act?
Well, he was really funny hosting Saturday Night Live, and that's pretty rare. Usually the athletes come on and they're stiff. Peyton Manning was hysterical hosting Saturday Night Live, and so it happens. So when Amy wrote the movie, she didn't know any athletes. The only name she knew was LeBron James. So I think she kind of tempted in. It's like writing Babe Ruth into your script. And then Bill Hader said, "Oh, he's a really good guy. He was nice when he did Saturday Night Live." So it was one of those weird situations where everyone in LeBron's world was very cool and really open to hearing about it, and then said, "Yeah, let's all sit down." And then we all had lunch. And then LeBron just totally got the joke. We just said, here's the joke of your character, how we would write you. This, bizarro LeBron, which isn't how you act at all, but we'll just create a persona for you. And he laughed his ass off.
The difference,
and he really got it.
The difference in seeing somebody who's funny in person at a dinner table, stand-up comedy, or somebody who is funny on film or TV, is there a separation there that some are just better at looking funnier or sounding funnier when it's on TV or in a movie as opposed to stand-up and being an actor, being able to do it?
Oh, absolutely. There are people that are just so funny to talk to, and if you ask them to do something scripted, they completely lock up, like me.
You can't act at all, Judd?
I just did a little thing in a movie James Franco directed, and they showed it to me, and I thought, oh, that was pretty good. It only took me 25 years to figure out how to do a 90-second scene.
What's the movie that had the most impact on you, comedy, growing up?
I think Diner, the Barry Levinson movie, was one because it really was about friendship and growing up and the way people actually talk, and it had those great scenes about sports where he was testing his fiancée that he wouldn't marry her unless she knew everything about sports.
The Baltimore Colts.
Yes, it was just a great idea, and it had so many great actors in it. And Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I thought, was a movie that really captured what it felt like to be in high school. A lot of Cameron Crowe's work, like Say Anything, and what James Brooks was doing, terms of endearment and broadcast news. I like when people can be real, but also hilarious. So they're not acting fake, they're not broad, it's what they're like in life, but then the movie finds a way to be both dramatic and really funny simultaneously.
But you like dialogue then. It's not the sight gag as much as it is the dialogue that kind of leads. I mean, certainly, diners Say Anything. I mean, it's all about what we remember those lines. And a lot of times you can just have a sight gag and you remember the sight gag, not necessarily the dialogue.
Yeah, I'm not really the visual guy. I'm not. I used to love Buster Keaton as a kid, but my brain doesn't really work that way. I collaborated with Adam Sandler and Robert Smigel on "You Don't Mess with the Zohan," but I have to say Smigel wrote most of those jokes.
He's Judd Apatow. You can watch tonight. It's Doc and Daryl, airs at 9 Eastern on the Mothership. It's the 30 for 30 documentary. Judd, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Good luck with this.
All right, pleasure.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.